Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Ranisa Wulan and I'm from State Polytechnic of Sriwijaya, majoring in English department. Today I want to present my material about formulation of hypothesis. Let's start with the general definition. According to Cambridge Dictionary, hypothesis is an idea or explanation for something that is based on known fact but has not yet been proved. In other words, it's a statement that provides an explanation for why or how something works, based on fact or some reasonable assumptions, but that has not yet been specifically tested. And a definition of a research hypothesis, or also called a scientific hypothesis, is a statement about the expected outcome of a scientific study, for example, a dissertation or thesis. A research hypothesis must be specific. A good research hypothesis needs to be very clear about what's being assessed, or who and what is involved, and very specific about the expected outcome. And second, testable. Testability means that you must be able to collect observed data in a scientifically rigorous fashion to assess whether supports the hypothesis or not. In other words, there need to be a way to prove the claim. And the last, falsifiable. A scientific hypothesis needs to be testable. Why? Hypothesis, it also need to be falsifiable or disprovable. In other words, there needs to be some identifiable way to test whether a hypothesis is false, or if there is no way to assess whether a claim is false or it's not a hypothesis. The basic step in formulation of hypothesis. The first step is the define variable. At first, with a view to formulating a hypothesis, you must define your variable. What do you want to test? For example, will you test that rewards increase reading achievement or rewards decrease reading achievement? And the second, study in depth the variable. In determining the hypothesis, a researcher must have at least two variables to be studied. These variables are independent and dependent variable. And then specify the nature of relationship, looking for information as deep and broad as possible from the theory and research facts that have been there related to the variables to be studied, or identify what relationship exists between variables. And then identify study population. The population is an area of generalization consisting of object or subject that have certain qualities and relationships that the researcher determines to study, then make a conclusions, and then make sure variables are testable. Variable in your hypothesis must be testable, otherwise the hypothesis would be worthless, because your research study must be accept or reject a variable. So your variable must need to be tested. Testable variable can only be accepted or rejected. I think that's all about my material. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.